The bright flash lit up the night sky over Montana. At first, the locals thought it was a meteor or perhaps a military test gone wrong. But when the light hovered and slowly descended toward the empty field outside of town, everyone knew this was something different. Tom Mason watched from his porch, a cup of coffee cooling in his hands. At 42, the former Army Ranger had seen enough in life to know when something was about to change forever. He set his cup down and reached for his binoculars. The craft, because that's what it clearly was, gleamed under the moonlight. It was smooth, with no visible seams or rivets, unlike any human technology. Tom's mouth went dry as a panel slid open on its side, revealing a soft blue light from within. 3 figures emerged. They walked with a fluid grace that seemed almost unnatural. Their bodies were vaguely humanoid but taller, with elongated limbs and larger heads. Tom felt a chill run down his spine. First contact, he whispered to himself. Within hours, the news had spread worldwide. The visitors called themselves the Voth, an advanced civilization from a star system hundreds of light years away. They came in peace, they said, to help humanity reach its full potential. We have observed your species for centuries. Their leader, who took the name General Ray, announced to the United Nations Assembly. Humans possess remarkable adaptability and resilience. We wish to help you harness these qualities. The Voth proposed a training program, a partnership. They called it, to enhance human capabilities. They promised technological advancements, medical breakthroughs, and a path to the stars. Most world leaders eagerly accepted. Who wouldn't want the guidance of a civilization thousands of years ahead of Earth? Tom wasn't so sure. Something about the whole situation felt off to him. But his opinions didn't matter much. He was just one skeptical voice among billions of excited humans. 6 months after first contact, the training facilities appeared. The Voth built them with incredible speed. Massive complexes springing up overnight in deserts, mountains, and plains across the globe. They called for volunteers, and people flocked to join. The future of humanity begins today, blared the advertisements. Be part of the next step in evolution. Tom tried to ignore it all. He kept to himself on his small Montana ranch, tending to his horses and garden. But then the letter came. Your military background and physical capabilities make you an ideal candidate, it read. Your country requests your participation in the Voth Enhancement Program. Tom crumpled the paper. Request, my ass, he muttered. It was clearly an order. 3 weeks later, he found himself at the North American Training Center, a sprawling complex built into the side of a mountain. Thousands of others like him, military personnel, athletes, and exceptional civilians, gathered in the main hall. General Ray stood on a platform, his tall figure imposing even from a distance. Humans, he began, his voice oddly musical despite the translator. You are about to embark on a journey unlike any your species has experienced. The training will be difficult. It will push you beyond what you believe possible. But the results will transform not just you, but all of humanity. Tom glanced around at the eager faces. Most looked excited, honored to be chosen. Only a few showed the wariness he felt. A young woman next to him caught his eye. Something doesn't add up, she whispered. Why us? Why Earth? Tom nodded slightly. I've been asking myself the same thing. I'm Mira, she said quietly. Former Navy intelligence. Tom, Army Rangers. Their conversation was cut short as the Voth assistants began dividing people into groups. As Tom was led away to his assigned quarters, he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had just volunteered for something far more dangerous than anyone realized. The training was about to begin. 5 years passed since first contact. The Voth training program had transformed from an exciting opportunity into a grueling way of life. Tom wiped sweat from his brow as he finished his 10th lap around the gravity-enhanced track. His muscles burned, but not as badly as they had during his first year. The human body adapted. That was what the Voth counted on. Mason, report to Simulation Chamber 4, came the metallic voice over the speakers. Tom sighed. No rest today. He grabbed his water bottle and headed toward the massive dome at the center of the facility. Other trainees nodded at him as he passed. They all wore the same gray uniform with colored stripes indicating their specialization. Tom's had red stripes, combat tactics. Inside the simulation chamber, Tom found Mira already waiting. Over the years, they had formed a close partnership, surviving challenges that had broken many others. Another day, another impossible task, Mira said with a tired smile. Before Tom could respond, the door sealed shut and the room transformed. The VOF holographic technology was unlike anything humans had ever created. Suddenly, they stood in what appeared to be an alien battlefield. Strange rock formations rose around them, and 3 moons hung in a purple sky. Today's scenario: you are outnumbered 10-1. Your objective is to capture the enemy command post, said the cold voice of their VOF trainer, Director Lin. Tom looked at Mira. Just 10-1. They're going easy on us today. This was their life now. Each day brought increasingly difficult challenges, pushing them beyond normal human limits. The training wasn't just physical, their minds were being enhanced too. Special diets, mental exercises, and even genetic modifications had become routine. Many trainees couldn't handle it. Some broke down mentally. Others suffered physical injuries that even VOF medical technology couldn't fully repair. But those who survived grew stronger, faster, and smarter. After successfully completing the simulation, with several simulated deaths before finding the winning strategy, Tom and Mira headed to the mess hall. Have you noticed something strange? Tom asked quietly as they ate their nutrient-balanced meal. The VOF never seems satisfied with our progress. Mira glanced around to make sure no one was listening. I accessed some files yesterday. They've increased the difficulty levels 4 times above what they originally planned. Why push us so hard? Tom wondered. Director Lin said something odd last week. He told the other trainers that we're developing nicely as assets. Mira's voice dropped to a whisper, not as partners or allies. Assets. Tom frowned. The word choice bothered him too. A loud announcement interrupted their conversation. Attention all trainees. Phase 2 augmentations begin tomorrow. Report to medical at your assigned times. A groan went through the mess hall. Phase 1 augmentations, minor genetic tweaks to improve strength and stamina, had been painful enough. Phase 2 was rumored to be much more invasive. Later that night, Tom couldn't sleep. He stood at his small window, looking at the stars. 20 years ago, he'd been a normal human. Now, his reflexes were twice as fast as any unmodified person's. He could process complex battle scenarios in seconds. Even his vision had been enhanced to see into infrared ranges. Was he still human? What were they becoming? A soft knock at his door startled him. It was Mira, looking troubled. I found something, she whispered, showing him a small data device. I managed to decrypt some VOF communications. Tom took the device, quickly reading through the alien text now translated to English. The human adaptability factor exceeds projections. One message read: continue accelerated preparation protocols. The coalition advances. We need the Earth Battalion ready within 50 years. Tom looked up at Mira, his face pale. Battalion? They're not training us. They're creating an army. The real purpose of the VOF's interest in humanity was beginning to emerge, and it was nothing like the partnership they had promised. 20 years into the VOF training program, Earth had changed beyond recognition. Cities now featured VOF architecture, sleek, metallic structures that towered over the old human buildings. Most people had undergone at least basic enhancements, with military trainees like Tom receiving the most extensive modifications. Tom sat in a hidden maintenance tunnel deep beneath the North American Training Center. These tunnels were one of the few places not monitored by VOF sensors. He had discovered them during a routine inspection 5 years ago and kept their existence secret. "Are you sure about this?" asked Ben, a communications specialist who had joined Tom and Mira's secret group. If they catch us accessing their private network. They won't, Tom replied, connecting a device of his own design to a Voth data node. Not if your scrambler works. Mira stood watch at the tunnel entrance. Their group had grown to 12 trusted members, all elite trainees with doubts about the Voth's true intentions. "I'm in," Ben whispered after several tense minutes. "Downloading now." Tom watched as alien text scrolled across the small screen. Thanks to their enhanced mental capabilities, ironically provided by the Voth themselves, they could now read the alien language without translation tools. "Got it," Ben said, disconnecting the device. "Let's go." Back in Tom's quarters, the small group huddled around the datapad. What they found confirmed their worst fears. "Battle plans," Mira said, her voice tight. "Detailed strategies for deploying human forces against something called the Coalition." "Look at this," Tom pointed to a section of the document. "Casualty projections. They expect to lose 60% of human forces in the initial engagement." The room fell silent as the full weight of the discovery sank in. The Voth weren't preparing humans for peaceful integration into galactic society. They were creating disposable soldiers for their war. "There's more," Ben said, scrolling further. "The Voth are losing their war against this coalition. They'd been pushed back in multiple sectors. So they found us, an isolated technologically inferior species, and decided to turn us into their cannon fodder," Tom said bitterly. A diagram appeared on screen, a map of nearby star systems with military positions marked. The Coalition forces were advancing steadily toward Earth's sector of space. "Based on their movement, the Coalition will reach our solar system within 50 years, Mira calculated. "That matches the timeline for completing our training." "We need to warn people," said Lisa, their medical specialist. "The world governments need to know." Tom shook his head. "Most government officials are already compromised. They've received the most extensive Voth gifts, including neural implants that might allow monitoring." "Then what do we do?" Ben asked. Tom stood up and paced the small room. "We gather more evidence. We build our network. And we prepare." "For what?" "Revolution," Lisa asked incredulously. "Against beings who can travel between stars." "The Voth have made one critical mistake," Tom said. "They've been training us to fight a war, just not the war they intended." He pulled up an image on the screen, schematics for Voth weapons systems that he had secretly downloaded months ago. "They're teaching us to use their technology, their tactics, their strategies. We're learning how they think, how they fight." Tom's eyes gleamed with determination. "And there's something else. Look at these training benchmarks." The document showed performance targets for human trainees, with actual results alongside them. "We're exceeding their expectations in every category," Mira noted, "especially in adaptive thinking and creative problem-solving." "The Voth are methodical and rely on established doctrine," Tom explained. "But they've trained us to think differently, to find solutions they wouldn't consider." Tom looked at each face in the room. "We need to build something they won't expect, a resistance. We use their training against them." "And then what?" Ben asked. "When the time comes," Tom said grimly, "we show them that creating the perfect weapon was their biggest mistake." As they dispersed, Tom wondered how many other trainees around the world had similar suspicions. They would need many more allies before they could challenge their alien mentors. The clock was ticking. The Voth had given them decades to prepare, time Tom intended to use well. 40 years had passed since first contact. Tom Mason, now physically enhanced to appear only in his mid-50s despite being 82, moved silently through the underground tunnel network that now spanned beneath the entire training facility. What had started as a small group of skeptics had grown into a global network. They called themselves simply the Resistance, communicating through coded messages hidden in training exercises. Their numbers had swelled to thousands, elite trainees who had pieced together the truth about the Voth's intentions. "Report from the European facility," Mira said as Tom entered their hidden command center. Despite her years, she moved with the fluid grace of someone decades younger. The Voth's genetic modifications had extended their lifespans and slowed aging considerably. 6 more Voth ships arrived yesterday, she continued. They're bringing in advanced weapons technology. Phase 3 training is being accelerated. Tom nodded grimly. Same in Asia and Africa. They're preparing for deployment. He studied the global map on their makeshift display. Blinking lights showed resistance cells worldwide. Any progress with Project Blackout? He asked. Ben, their tech specialist, looked up from his workstation. We can disable their surveillance for approximately 18 minutes before their backup systems engage. Not long enough for a full takeover, but enough to move our people into position. The door slid open, and Lisa hurried in. I got something, she said breathlessly. A Voth medical officer made contact. Tom's eyes narrowed. Could be a trap. I don't think so, Lisa replied. Listen to this. She played a recording on her device. My name is Dr. Kell, came a soft, slightly musical voice, the distinctive cadence of a Voth speaking English. I have reviewed the neural implant protocols. They include obedience subroutines not disclosed to human authorities. I cannot be part of this deception any longer. The room fell silent as the recording ended. If this is legitimate, Mira began. It could be the break we've been waiting for, Tom finished. Where is this Dr. Kell now? Medical Wing B, working night shifts, Lisa said. I've arranged a meeting during tomorrow's power calibration test. The surveillance will be down for maintenance. Tom nodded. I'll go. Alone. The next evening, Tom made his way through the facility's medical wing, his enhanced senses alert for any sign of a trap. The room was empty except for a tall Voth figure bent over a workstation. Dr. Kell, Tom asked quietly. The Voth turned, revealing features that seemed more delicate than most of their kind. Commander Mason, your reputation precedes you. The most adaptable human in the North American facility. Why contact us? Tom asked bluntly. Kell's large eyes blinked slowly. Because what my people are doing is wrong. The Voth High Command has not been truthful, not with humans, and not with many of our own people. The doctor moved to a terminal and brought up classified files. The coalition is not what you've been told. They are not aggressors but defenders. My people attacked their worlds first, seeking resources and territory. Tom studied the files, tactical reports, strategic assessments, and battle records. The Voth are losing this war. Yes, Kell admitted. And they see Earth as their last hope, a planet of natural warriors who can be enhanced and deployed as shock troops. Cannon fodder, Tom said bitterly. There's more, Kell continued. The training program you've endured, it was designed as merely preparatory, what the Voth consider a basic warm-up regimen. Tom felt his blood run cold. A warm-up? People have died in this training. The Voth underestimated human baselines. What would break a Voth trainee merely challenges humans. Your adaptability far exceeds anything my people anticipated. Kell paused. This is why I believe you have a chance. A chance at what? Tom asked. Freedom, Kell replied simply. The final phase begins soon. Full neural integration that will place all enhanced humans under direct Voth control. You have perhaps 6 months before it becomes impossible to resist. Tom's mind raced with implications. We'll need your help. You have it, Kell said. I am not alone in my concerns. There are others among my kind who question our leader's methods. As Tom left the meeting, he knew their timeline had compressed dramatically. 6 months to prepare for a revolution against an interstellar power. The resistance would need to move quickly. Very quickly. Sirens wailed throughout the North American Training Center. Red emergency lights pulsed along the corridors as trainees rushed to their battle stations. After 50 years of preparation, the moment had finally arrived. Coalition forces detected entering the solar system, announced the calm voice of General Ray over the facility speakers. This is not a drill. All enhanced units report for final integration and deployment. Tom stood in the command center, surrounded by his team. The past 6 months had been a blur of secret preparations, coded messages, and careful recruitment. The Resistance now numbered over 10,000 elite operators worldwide. "It's time," he said simply. Mira nodded, her face grim but determined. "All cells report ready. Begin Operation Uprising," Tom ordered. Ben activated their custom-built transmitter. A single pulse went out, a signal that would be meaningless to VOF monitoring systems, but would trigger resistance actions globally. "Signal confirmed," Lisa reported. "Blackout protocols initiating in 3, 2, 1. Across the planet, carefully placed devices activated simultaneously. The VOF surveillance network blinked out as power surges overloaded their systems. They had exactly 18 minutes before backup systems would engage. "Move out," Tom commanded. Teams of enhanced humans swept through the facilities with precision and speed that would have been impossible for their unmodified ancestors. Decades of brutal training had created warriors unlike anything Earth had seen before, now turned against their creators. Tom led the assault on the central command hub. His squad moved with supernatural coordination, their augmented bodies flowing like water through the defenses. VOF security forces fired energy weapons, but the humans had trained against these weapons for years. They knew exactly how to evade, advance, and neutralize. "Hub secured," Tom reported after just 7 minutes of fierce fighting. Around the world, similar reports flooded in. The VOF had made a critical miscalculation. They had trained humans in small, isolated groups, never allowing them to work together at full capacity. They never imagined their perfect soldiers would coordinate so effectively against them. General Ray himself stood surrounded in the master control room, his tall figure radiating disbelief. "Impossible," the alien commander stated, staring at Tom. "Your neural compliance should be absolute." Tom approached slowly. "You forgot something important about humans, General. We adapt. Your neural implants were designed for VOF physiology. We figured out how to bypass them months ago." On the massive display behind Ray, space-based sensors showed the approaching coalition fleet. Dozens of ships of various designs were decelerating as they approached Mars orbit. "You still lose, human," Ray said coldly. "The coalition will destroy this planet rather than let the VOF have it." "Actually," came Dr. Kell's voice as the VOF scientist entered flanked by resistance fighters, "the coalition has agreed to hear humanity's case." Tom nodded to Ben, who activated the communications array. The face that appeared on screen was distinctly non-human, an alien with crystalline features that shimmered with internal light. "This is Admiral Zinn of the Coalition Defense Force," the alien said. "We received your transmission. Is this communication secure?" "Yes, Admiral," Tom replied. "Earth forces have neutralized VOF command and control. We request formal recognition as an independent world and consideration for coalition membership." The alien's crystalline features shifted in what might have been surprise. "You've overthrown the VOF occupation. Independently." "We had some help," Tom acknowledged, nodding to Kell. "But yes, the enhanced human forces they created are now under our own control." Admiral Zinn seemed to consider this. "The Coalition Council will need verification. We are sending a diplomatic vessel to your orbit. Prepare to receive representatives." As the communication ended, Tom turned to General Ray. "Your warm-up period did wonders for our combat readiness, General. Thank you for the training." The VOF commander's expression remained impassive, but his 3-fingered hands trembled slightly. He recognized the truth. In creating the perfect weapon, they had forged their own defeat. Outside, the first light of dawn broke over the horizon. A new day for humanity was beginning. The Coalition diplomatic vessel hung in Earth orbit, a strange crystalline structure that seemed to shimmer with internal light. Tom had never seen anything like it. The VOF ships were all sleek metal and sharp angles. This craft looked almost organic. Tom, Mira, and 3 other resistance leaders waited in what had once been the Voth Command Center's meeting room. The air felt tense. Despite their victory, humanity's future remained uncertain. The Coalition might still see Earth as a Voth military asset to be neutralized. A flash of light announced the arrival of the Coalition representatives. 3 beings materialized. One crystalline like Admiral Zinn, one with a form like flowing water contained in a humanoid shape, and a third that appeared almost insectoid. "I am Ambassador Trell," said the crystalline being. "This is Commander Nera and Science Director Pax." She gestured to her companions. "We represent the Coalition Council." "Welcome to Earth," Tom replied, keeping his voice steady despite his awe. "I'm Commander Tom Mason. These are my colleagues from Earth's Resistance." Ambassador Trell studied him with faceted eyes that reflected light in a rainbow of colors. "Remarkable. The physical enhancements are obvious, but your neural patterns." She turned to her insectoid companion. "Director Pax, your analysis." The insectoid being clicked softly before speaking in a voice that sounded surprisingly melodic. "They have exceeded all projected adaptability metrics. The neural modifications alone should have rendered independent thought impossible. Yet here we stand," Mira said firmly. The liquid form being, Commander Nera, moved forward. Her watery body rippled with what might have been emotion. "You must understand our caution. For 3 centuries, the Voth have attempted to create enhanced proxy forces from conquered species. None have successfully broken free of their control." Tom nodded. "We understand your concern." "May I?" Director Pax asked, holding up a small device. "This will scan your neural patterns non-invasively." Tom consented, and the device hummed softly as it passed over his head. "Extraordinary," Pax exclaimed. "The Voth neural implants have been completely rewired. Not removed or deactivated, repurposed." "Dr. Kell helped us understand the technology," Tom explained. "Once we knew how it worked, we found ways to adapt it." Ambassador Trell's crystalline features shifted in what might have been surprise. "You modified Voth control implants while they were in your brains." "We had no choice," Mira said simply. The 3 Coalition representatives conferred briefly in their own language before Ambassador Trell turned back to them. "We've reviewed the Voth training protocols recovered from their systems," she said. "I believe you should see this." A holographic display appeared between them, showing side-by-side comparisons of training regimens. "The left shows standard Voth military training," Trell explained. "The right shows what was implemented on Earth." Tom's eyes widened as he studied the data. "They're almost identical." "Precisely," said Director Pax. "What you experienced as brutal, intensive training was considered by the Voth to be merely preparatory, a warm-up phase for the real military conditioning. The full training would have killed most of you," Commander Nera added, her liquid form rippling. "The Voth expected to lose 60% of human subjects during this warm-up phase. Instead, you adapted and thrived." "Not all of us," Tom said grimly, remembering those who hadn't survived the process. "Even so," Ambassador Trell continued, "your survival and performance rates exceeded any species the Voth have previously subjugated. And none, not one, has ever broken free of neural control." The implications were staggering. What the humans had endured for 50 years, training that had pushed them to the absolute limits of physical and mental endurance, had been considered by the Voth to be merely preliminary conditioning. "There's more," Director Pax said. "The Voth fleet approaching your system isn't just a response force. It's their main battle group, 30% of their remaining military strength. They're desperate," Commander Nera explained. "They'd lost too many worlds to the Coalition. Earth was their last, best hope. A planet of warriors who could turn the tide of the war." Tom looked at his fellow resistance leaders, seeing the same realization in their eyes. The Voth hadn't just been creating soldiers, they'd been betting their entire civilization on human adaptability. And now that same adaptability had become their greatest threat. The Voth main battle fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Sensors detected 57 warships, sleek, predatory vessels bristling with weapons that could reduce Earth's surface to molten slag. Tom stood on the bridge of the Defiance, formerly the Voth command ship now under human control. Around him, enhanced humans operated stations with practiced efficiency. 6 months had passed since the uprising, and humanity had been busy. Coalition fleet is moving to intercept, reported Ben from the tactical station. 23 vessels taking up defensive positions near Mars orbit. Admiral Zinn's face appeared on the main screen. Commander Mason, the Voth admiral, is demanding Earth's surrender. They're threatening planetary bombardment if we refuse. Tom nodded grimly. We expected this. Is the coalition ready? We are, Admiral Zinn replied. But our analysis shows the Voth fleet outguns us significantly. We can slow them, but we'll handle the rest, Tom said confidently. Implement Operation Slingshot. Mira, now a fleet commander, appeared on a secondary screen. Human Defense Force ready, Tom. All ships report green status. What the Coalition and Voth both failed to understand was how thoroughly humanity had mastered Voth technology. During 50 years of training, humans had not just learned to use their weapons, they had learned to improve them. Launch all vessels, Tom ordered. From hidden bases on Earth's moon and across the planet's surface, 300 smaller craft rose into space. They weren't as large as Voth capital ships, but they were faster, more maneuverable, and crewed by humans whose brains had been enhanced specifically for combat. Voth fleet is adjusting formation, Ben announced. They're deploying to standard combat grid, just as predicted. Tom smiled slightly. The Voth were methodical, disciplined, and utterly predictable. They followed established doctrine without deviation, a weakness humans were about to exploit. All ships, execute pattern chaos, Tom commanded. The human fleet split into dozens of smaller groups, each moving in seemingly random patterns that defied conventional battle tactics. The Voth, trained to fight organized opponents, struggled to target the unpredictable human ships. First wave, engage, Mira ordered from her command vessel. Human ships darted through the Voth formation at speeds their designers had never intended. Enhanced pilots pushed the vessels beyond safety limits, executing maneuvers that would have killed unmodified humans through G-forces alone. They're targeting our main ships, Ben reported as Voth energy weapons lanced toward the larger vessels. Let them, Tom replied calmly. Activate shield modifications. When the energy beams struck the human-modified shields, something unexpected happened. Instead of being absorbed or deflected, the energy was captured, redirected, and amplified back toward the Voth vessels. On the tactical display, 3 Voth ships went dark as their own weapons' energy overloaded their systems. Admiral Zinn's crystalline features shifted in what might have been astonishment. How did you? Dr. Kell helped us understand Voth shield harmonics, Tom explained. We found a way to reverse the polarity and create a feedback loop. The battle continued for another hour, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The humans fought with a creativity and adaptability that bewildered their Voth opponents. By the time the Voth admiral finally surrendered, 39 of their ships had been disabled with minimal coalition or human casualties. After the battle, Ambassador Trell stood with Tom in the observation deck, watching as coalition ships secured the captured Voth vessels. The Coalition Council is reconsidering certain assumptions about humanity, she admitted. What you've accomplished is unprecedented. Tom gazed out at the stars. The Voth gave us the tools but underestimated what we would build with them. They called it a warm-up, Trell said. Yet you exceeded the performance of their elite forces. Humans have always thrived under pressure, Tom replied. Throughout our history, our greatest achievements came when we faced our greatest challenges. As coalition and human ships moved in formation around Earth, Tom thought about the future. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not as conquerors or the conquered, but as equals. The Voth had spent centuries training humans, hoping to create the perfect weapons. Instead, they had forged a new power in the galaxy, one that understood both the horrors of war and the value of peace. "What will you do now?" Ambassador Trell asked. Tom watched as Earth rotated below, beautiful and blue. "Build something better than what the Voth imagined. They trained us for war, but we'll use those same skills to protect what matters most: freedom for all species." The stars beckoned, and humanity, transformed, enhanced, but still fundamentally human, was ready to answer their call.